What's going on, guys? I'm coming to you today with my Imperial ship rankings for X-Wing. This is 18 through 11. There are currently 18 ships. That's why I'm starting at 18 instead of a top 20, because we don't have 20 different ships. These rankings are primarily my own opinion. They're not necessarily what is best, and you are welcome to disagree. I use a lot of different things to base my rankings on. One thing is generally how good they are, but also sometimes something will get more points based on how I personally feel about the ship. If it's a ship I just really love, I might give it extra points for that. If it's a ship I really hate, I may kick it down a few notches. And I have different, and I'll explain my reasoning. So with all that said, let's start up at number 18. And number 18 is the Raider. So in keeping with the same tradition that I've been with throughout all the other rankings, I'm putting the Epic ships at the bottom of the list, primarily because Epic doesn't get that much official support. Epic doesn't get played that much, and it's just very, very hard to play the Epic ships. This expansion has a ton of goodies in it, but the ship itself just doesn't get to see itself on the playmat that often, and it's definitely, a very expensive ship to definitely field, so it's harder to fully employ this ship. Moving up to number 17 is the Gozanti, which if you're going to play Epic, I think the Gozanti is definitely the better option here. It's much, much cheaper, and you can dock 4 TIE fighters or 4 other small ships on it, and depending on the type of ship you can put on there. It makes TIE fighters really effective because you can drop them at range 1 and basically let them, kind of avoid how fragile they are. So it lets you do that. I really like the Gozanti as far as Epic play. Although it's not as pretty as the Raider, it is definitely very, very effective. So big fan of the Gozanti when it comes to Epic, but it's so low because I hardly ever get to use it. So, that is kind of why it's down there at the bottom. I would love to see Epic get played more often and be able to use these guys a little bit more, but that's about it for number 17. We're going to move up to number 16 now, which is a crying shame, but I have to put the TIE Interceptor at the bottom of the standard play ships at number 16. The TIE Interceptor is so iconic as being one of the most deadly and fearsome and awesome, most badass looking ships out there. It's known for being really, really deadly and very iconic to Star Wars. And it's a shame that it's at the bottom of this list, but the reason is primarily because it's just doesn't ever get played. It's incredibly fragile. When it came out, agility was more of a thing, whereas if you put like a stealth device on this ship and you took an evade, you might be unkillable. But nowadays, that's just not going to happen anymore. Between bombs, twin laser turrets, action economy being what it is, everybody has rerolls and focuses now. Sometimes you have both of those, even if you don't take an action at all. So it's just not what it used to be, and it's kind of a bigger part of a bigger problem in this game. But it's still a shame. You've had Imperial aces as meant to be a fix, and there still are some kind of cool pilots, but there are also a lot of pilots for this ship that are just terrible and have been made worse and worse and worse. Fell's Wrath, for example, is kind of like the poster child for forgotten pilots. But you've also got things like Lieutenant Laurier, and just got a lot of these pilots that are just junky now. There are still some, even Soontir Fel isn't that good anymore, and he should, if anybody ever needed a complete overhaul, it's Soontir Fel needs to be made the deadliest pilot in the skies, and he's just not. And it'd be nice to see if he could be. I'd love to see a fix for these guys to give them a free evade to every roll or something like that. It would kind of make them competitors again. But Karner Jax is still a good pilot for this one. He's got a cool pilot ability, but who wants to actually field him, spend all the points to field a ship that is probably going to be killed the first time there's some shooting or bombs go off or something. So yeah, that's the TIE Interceptor at number 16. Next up, also kind of a crying shame, the Firespray 31. I put this one a little bit higher above because it has the better firing arc. It's it's also a bigger ship. It's a lot tougher with all those shields. But the Firespray really deserves to be higher. It is higher in the Scum list, but that's because the Scum version got to give it a little bit of an upgrade and got to revamp some of the pilot abilities, making them a little more desirable. But yes, the Imperial version is like take what's great about the Scum one and remove it, right? Here's a ship that's just awfully expensive and has been consistently outclassed, and um, again, it's not the worst ship ever. It still does have that rear firing arc, but it doesn't really um, take too much advantage of it. There have been a few things that have made it a little bit better. You can still put a tail gunner in here. You can still fly this, and in the Imperial version does have that cheap generic, so you can fit three 33-point fire sprays on the board. But this just, since they're going to give you half points because it's a large ship, it's just not as good as it could be, and I feel bad about that. But that's just kind of where I have it right now as number 15. Next one, I'm going to get some hate on. I'm sure of that. Number 14 is the TIE Advanced Prototype. First thing I just want to tell you about this ship. I hate this ship. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So with that in mind, it probably deserves to be much higher on a lot of people's lists because of the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor himself is not a bad pilot, but all the other ones are garbage, in my opinion. I've always hated this ship though, and it's personal. It's absolutely personal, and I admit that. I have a history, but first off, let me start off. First, this is a more recent ship to come out, and it's a 2 attack die ship that is just kind of garbage today. I don't like 2 attack dice ships that are primarily going to be shooting with their primary weapon. If you're going to be a 2 attack dice ship, I think you should they have a single missile slot, but with you need right now you need like double missile or bombs or a turret or some kind of title to increase your attack or some kind of extra boost to your attack, and this is a ship that just doesn't have it, except for the Inquisitor has it marginally. So the Inquisitor is not a bad pilot, but all the other pilots are garbage. So it's not really a threat with its just 2 attack dice. Valen Rudor, he gets a free action if you shoot him. Well, I won't shoot at him. Opponents say, sure, good, don't shoot at him. I'm like, yeah, I'll shoot at some ship that's a threat. I don't care. You're going to roll 2 attack dice at me, and I'm going to ignore them because it's going to, I'm going to deflect it away with my hand and just swat those 2 attack dice. If you can't tell, I really hate this ship. And a lot of this stems from the idea that it originally should have been able to take the X1 title. I was really, really mad, and I felt kind of insulted at the way that this was kind of designed. I shouldn't take it so personally, and I shouldn't be this mad, but I was a big arguer on the forums when this ship was coming out because it's a TIE Advanced Prototype. It's ADV. We know ADV stands for Advanced, so the X1 title says TIE Advanced only, so there was this big argument, and everybody was saying, no, it can't, and I was like, well, it should be able to. And they're like, well, it doesn't say TIE Advanced. I'm like, well, what the hell do we think ADV stands for? Of course, it's just I understand balance changes or whatever. I just think they should have called it something else. Because it started a very, very big argument. It even went back to the Raider Corvette, which there is an abbreviation on there where it says Corv with a period. And so I got really, really worked up when this ship came out, arguing, and I probably shouldn't have. I really shouldn't have taken it so personally. So I have a lot of hard feelings for this ship. As a result, I refuse to fly it. And of course, you're probably thinking, well, then where do you get off ranking it so low when you refuse to fly it? It's my channel. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take special executive privilege for this one ship and put it down much lower than it probably deserves to be, because I will objectively say that the Inquisitor's ability is a very nice ability, and it allows him the privilege of being able to target lock and get a free evade with the makes him a little bit survivable if he stays at range 3 and can shoot you as if you're at range 1, but you have to shoot him back at range 3 with auto thrusters and an evade. Okay, yeah, I get it. He's kind of survivable. I get that. I totally get that. But everybody else besides him is not a threat. I've never seen anybody take any of these other pilots. I've heard people say they were going to take Valen Rudor, and I'm like, okay, sure, waste a ship, waste half your points. I don't care if he shoots at me. I can save him for last, no problem. But anyway, there's enough of me ranting about this ship. It's personal. I apologize. I know that some of you guys are probably like this ship more. I have some friends that like this ship and have done very well with this ship. I don't care. I still hate it, and that's why it's that low on the list. I'm sorry. Let's go on to the next one. All right, number 13, TIE Punisher. TIE Punisher could have been better. Unfortunately, this kind of really got hurt. Like some of the ships here really got hurt with when they made some changes to the way attacks work and how having like a double target lock doesn't really help you as much. So it really kind of hurt some of the pilots here. And this is just basically because it got so many ordnance spots on it, it became very difficult to fly this ship effectively after that nerf, and you end up spending like over 30, maybe even up to 40 points on one ship that only has one agility. And granted, it is kind of tanky, right? You've got 6 hull and 3 shields. This ship can survive a little bit, which is pretty cool. But the nerfs to the way, or the changes, I should say, to the way attacks work for this ship were a tremendous nerf. I will say that it has gotten a little better as of late with all the new bombing focus that we've seen, and considering it can take a system slot, this is a great opportunity to use like something like Minefield Mapper on and drop a couple of bombs on here, and it's a really good bombing platform. It's the best bombing platform for the Empire. But that's at that point it's kind of like a I don't know. It just doesn't feel. It feels like it's partially fixed. I don't know. I think it might get a little bit better since we've seen a little bit more of a bombing focus. It may rise a little bit more. But it's on the move. It's on the rise. It got hurt pretty bad, and I think it's starting to recover. But I have the Punisher down there, 13. Moving up, we have the original, the classic, the TIE Bomber. Now, this was a tough one because at first I wanted to put the Punisher above the Bomber because it is a better bomber, and I recognize that. But one of the reasons that I put the TIE Bomber ahead of the Punisher is since the Imperial veterans, you have multiple things you can do with the TIE Bomber. You don't necessarily just have to run it as a bomber or missile platform. You can now also run it as a cruise ship or as a support ship. And because it's significantly cheaper, I think it gives you definitely more options. So, and it's funny that we're going with a very old graphic here for this one that I pulled off of a web search, which is showing you some Rebel dials or some Rebel cardboard over here. But yeah, pay no attention to that. But yes, the TIE Bomber has a lot more flexibility now because of ever since Imperial veterans. So you definitely have more things you can do with it. You can give it support. You have more pilot options for it now than the TIE Punisher, and you can even run it as a swarm ship if you wanted to just run really tanky, like think of it as a really tanky version of a TIE fighter. Of course, it's not really the most effective use of a ship like this, but you have those options, and it's still it's still a fairly solid ship for the point cost. It's just not super flashy, but it's a good ship, and I like that you have several different ways that you can run this thing. My biggest wish for it though is that it had a second bomb slot because it's a bomber and it's like one of the weakest bombers. Like I don't know. It's like what Fire Spray can take 3 bombs. The Punishers can take have 2. The bomber only has 1. It's the bomber, So that's really my only real gripe with the ship right now. That's the bomber. And moving up to number 11, and this will top out this list, is the TIE Phantom. So here's a ship that for a while was my absolute favorite Imperial ship. The TIE Phantom, first 4 attack die ship, first cloaking ship, right? It was a lot of firsts with this ship, and it looks super cool, and was the inspiration for so many really cool cloaking paint jobs that went on this thing. So very cool ship. It could cloak. Originally, this thing used to run the meta too, because it used to decloak when it would activate, and then they had to change that. So they were really, really, really strong for a long time. They were really hard to hit, and these guys have slowly started to phase out because of how fragile they are. They only have 2 hull and 2 shields. There's a big problem with any ship that has 2 hull, because a proton bomb can, in theory, kill it. That's one of my rules of thumb. Ships that have 2 hull have to consider that at least, because there's so many, and now more than before, there's so many automatic unblockable damage types in the game, and with the rise of bombers, that's become even more of a threat, especially since nim has come out. That's something you have to think about even more. So it used to kind of survive on its ability to just shoot, then cloak, and and get a free focus and just outroll you and dodge the attacks that way. But that's becoming less and less of a thing. Pilot skills have been getting higher and higher. There's more 9s to compete for a VI Whisper. There's more automatic damage. Their twin laser turrets are still a thing, and you can only roll well so many times. It's harder and harder for a ship like this to stay alive, and this is literally the glass cannon of the game. I still really enjoy these guys. At 25 points, you can fit 4 of them in one list if you give it no other upgrades. But yeah, generally that's not how you do it. But I really do like flying these guys. They're just very much a glass cannon. They cannot target lock natively, so that does represent a little bit of a weakness on them. But the biggest thing is their fragileness or their frailty. Still 4 attack dice ship though. That says a lot. Also looks really cool. And that's gonna do it for this list, guys. Let me know what you think. Leave me in the comments below. Let me know how much you're mad at me for putting the TIE Advanced prototype lower on the list. I expect to get a lot of hate from people there, but that is where I have put these. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe and click the little bell for alerts so you can find out when I post the top 10, which should be coming up here soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.